The band Death originated in 1973, comprising of three brothers, Dennis, David, and Bobby Hackney. They infused their rock, R&B, and soul to create this unheard, fresh proto-punk style of music. David Hackney was the famed leader and channeled many creative ideas through his strong spiritual connections he had. After their father passed away, it had a huge impact on all three of them, but David seemed to be really impacted the most. Shortly after their father passed, David called up Dennis and Bobby to their band practice room and said, "I got a name for our band. It's called Death." Bobby and Dennis were like, He explained the name has shock value because death is real, and I want to put a positive spin to the word death because it's no different from birth, it's just an evolution of life. He had so much conviction in using that name that Bobby and Dennis, even though they didn't like it, went along with it anyways. After writing enough songs for an album, they felt they were ready to start recording their album. They auditioned for Brian Spears at Groovesville Productions in 1974, and he loved them. He was blown away by their energy and David's conviction and belief that this was their destiny to play music and using the name Death as a positive spiritual meaning. Brian agreed to record them and help them get a record deal. They started recording in February 1975 at United Sound Recording Studios in Detroit, Michigan. Once the album was finished, they shopped the album and were turned down by practically every label. The band name Death was a big deterrent for them to obtain a record deal. But then Clive Davis heard the music and really thought they had something there. He offered them a record deal with a $20,000 contract, but one caveat, they would have to change their name. When David channeled the name Death, it was all a part of the concept of the band and the music went along with the concept. So he basically told Clive Davis to go to hell. Bobby and Dennis didn't agree with David and were willing to change the name, but they felt obligated to back up their brother and go along with him. Back at home, they told David, "Let's just change the name. How many times are we going to get a $20,000 record deal? And in 1975, that's a lot of money, David." David got really mad with Dennis and Bobby and said he won't change the name of the band for nothing. Later on, Brian Spears had a meeting with the band and let them know that Don Davis, the owner of Groovesville Productions, was releasing them. David asked Brian to give them their master recordings. Brian said no problem, and they got their masters back. Death then took the masters and printed up 545 single records with songs Politicians in My Eyes on the A side and Keep On Knockin' on the B side. They took the records to radio stations to play it, but it was hardly played and they saw very, very little airplay. Most of the radio stations were rejecting them due to the band name Death. They gave the remaining stack of records to their friend Don Schwenk as a payment for the artwork he had created for them and in the hopes he would pass them out and promote the band. After no luck getting the band's music out there, they decided to quit the band and hardly spoke about the Death music to anyone. David Hackney eventually developed a drinking problem over the years, and his cigarette smoking added to his health decline. David slowly started dropping prophetic messages to his wife and family that he was going to be leaving this earth. One night he told his wife, the music he made with the band Death won't be heard by the world until after he dies. Then, after Dennis's wedding day, David told his mother, when she gets home, get ready to bury one of her sons. And he gave the master recordings of the Death album to Bobby and said, I want you to hold on to these. He told Bobby, I want you to have these recordings for when they come looking for them. In 2000, David tragically passed away from lung cancer. Now this is where the story gets interesting. Fast forward to 2008, Don Schwenk, the guy who was given the stack of Death records as payment for his artwork, went into the Car City record store and told the owner, Matt Smith, hey, I got a record that you might be interested in from some friends of mine in college. He said, I was supposed to help promote them and, hey, it's never too late. So he gave him a box of the records and said, take these home and, give it a listen. Matt listened to it and loved it. A musician later came in named Ben Blackwell who grabbed the copy of the Death single from Matt's record shop. Matt then heard that this Death single was very rare and worth a lot of money, and he listed the record for sale on eBay. A record collector named Robert Manis heard the song Keep On Knockin' on an obscure unknown punk bands from 1976 to 1982 compilation album and was blown away. Robert wanted to find the record and searched for it on eBay and found Matt's listing of it for $800 and he bought it. Then Henry Owens, the owner of Chunklet.com, got digital copies from Ben Blackwell, who uploaded the songs to his website in April 2008. Then, by sheer coincidence, Bobby Hackney's son, Julian, had a roommate in LA who came home one day and was going on and on about, hey, oh my God, there's this band called Death and how she found them and how great they are. So Julian did a search and found the Chunklet website and the posts about the band Death with 2 songs from the 45 single record. The first song he listened to was Politicians in My Eyes, and he immediately knew it was his father singing. Julian then called his dad and said, "Dad, why didn't you tell me? This music is amazing. Did you know they're playing your music in all these underground parties here in LA?" Soon all the Hackney sons started spreading the music around to their friends, and they posted it on blogs which started spreading all over the internet. That record collector Robert Manis, who bought the record from eBay, then got it into the hands of Ryan Murphy at Drag City Records. Drag City wanted to reissue the single, but was curious if there was an actual whole album or if the band was even still alive. Then Bobby and Dennis got a call from Drag City Records, and they told them that they did in fact have a complete album recorded and the masters were still sitting up in the attic. Drag City then made a deal with Death to release the album. The album Death for the Whole World to See was officially released in February 2009. The album received overwhelmingly positive reviews. The band's musicianship and originality really shines through with the album's unique blend of proto-punk, garage rock, and hard rock elements. It was way ahead of its time. Death was truly brought back to life with this incredible story and the amazing rockin' recordings that the whole world can now see and hear today. Some may say it was happenstance that an album that was collecting dust in an attic since the late 1970s could ever be revived and shared with the world almost 35 years later. But David Hackney had a vision and a dream that his 2 brothers are now living out, and I'm sure that David had a hand in helping to get this album out and finally heard.
The number 1 biggest game is when they gain number fame. It's like a race at the top because they wanna be boss. They don't care who they step on as long as they get along. Politicians in my eyes. They care less about you, they care less about me. As long as they are put in the place that they want to be, they're always wearing false smiles. I guess let's go with the style. Politicians.